So in this tutorial, we are going to create a manifest for our project. A manifest is basically a way for us to easily create assets for our application and use them very quickly. And it allows us to create them in one place. So first thing that we want to do is we want to create a new class for our manifest. In this case, I created a class called app manifest. It's very important that we make that a child of our manifest, the Malena manifest class, so that you have all the features that the manifest system has to offer. And so in this case, I'm going to make a manifest where I can start including an image. I can also add other assets such as fonts or sounds or even common text. But in this example, I'm just going to show an image. So in order to make sure that our manifest is strongly typed, right, to make sure that users don't accidentally type in wrong names for our assets, the manifest requires you to create an enum for every asset that you actually have inside of your application. So in this case, I have this Minesweeper image, and so that's why inside of this manifest, I created this enum class called images, and I gave it, and I created an enum named Minesweeper. Now we can name our enums whatever we like, but it's important that this class name is called images. And if we wanted to create one for fonts, then we would follow suit. We would call it fonts. If we wanted to create one for sounds, again, we would follow suit. We would name it sounds. Now, the one that might not be extremely intuitive would be if we want to create some common strings. In this case, we're going to call it text. All right, and other things that we can create would be integers, and also we can create floats. All right, so if you ever needed any of these assets inside of your program, where you want to just be able to use them, pretty much globally, you'll want to go ahead and create that inside of your manifest. And once I show you how to use it, you'll see why it's a very great feature. But right now, I'm just gonna demonstrate images, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of these other enums that I just created. I just wanted to show you that as a demonstration. So whenever we are creating our enums, then we need to map our enums to the actual file inside of our program so that the manifest knows how to access the different assets. And the way that we're going to do that is we're just going to create a little private Lambda function that executes as soon as we start our program, as soon as we use our manifest, I should say. So I'm going to create a little inline static constant Lambda function. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name this one underscore, and then I'm going to set it equal to just a simple Lambda function. Whoops. Sorry, I forgot auto here. So this function is basically going to be where we will set all of our paths for our different assets, and we're going to do that by using the set function. So in this set function, we're going to first pass in our enum, and we want to make sure that we use our class name. So I'm going to do images Minesweeper. And then I'm going to provide the path to my Minesweeper image. And so my Minesweeper image is here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that path. C-Line actually has a really simple way of copying paths to your file. I'm just going to go and say copy file from content root. And then I'm going to go back to my manifest, and I'm going to put that file in as a string. And now if I wanted to add other images, I can actually add them all within this set function. But since I only have one, I'm going to just do the one. If I wanted to add fonts, I would create another set function, and then I can put all of my font mappings inside of that set function. But right now, I'm just creating one. And so now I want to make sure that this function actually gets called upon creation. So here we're going to just call our Lambda function. Now, you can actually do this as a constructor if you see fit, but you just have to make sure that your code calls that constructor. Otherwise, you might run into some problems. But if you use this simple Lambda function that calls itself upon creation, you're pretty good. And this is all written inside of the tutorial if you have any questions about that. All right, and so now that I have my Lambda, I can actually start using, now that I have this manifest created, I can actually start using these images inside of my program. I'm going to show you a really simple way of doing it, and then I'm going to show you a better way to do it. So since I have this app manifest, it really only has images. I can use a text manager to actually be able to start using the image inside of here. So I'm going to go to my tutorial application, and I'm going to define, I'm going to use an alias just to make the syntax look a little better. So I'm going to say using images, and then I'm going to set that equal to a ML texture manager. And that texture manager requires a manifest as its template. And so in this case, I'm going to use app manifest. All right, and so now I just need to import these into my class, and then I am actually able to use any asset that I declare inside of my manifest. So here I'm going to go and create, let me include Malena managers, texture manager, and then I'm going to also include my created manifest. So now that I have that, I can actually now just get my image by using this texture manager. So I'm going to create a sprite here to host my texture. So I'm just going to create a ML sprite. I'm just going to call it Minesweeper since I know that that's what I'm going to host. Of course, you can call it whatever you want. And so now let's go to our app class. And I'm just going to, this is going to look really ugly, but I'm going to set up my sprite down here. So I called it Minesweeper. And then I need to set my texture. So I'm going to do set texture. And now I can use my manifest, right, and my texture manager to be able to just simply get that manager. So since I named my manager images, I'm going to do images, : get, and then I need to just say, what do I want to get? In this case, I want to get my app manifest images Minesweeper. All right, so now I set the texture of my Minesweeper sprite to the Minesweeper image that I got from my manifest. And now, of course, in order for us to see this, we want to add this to our component added to our app. And so now if I run my code, we'll see that we have an error. If I look at this error, it's basically saying that it is unable to complete. Oh, it's unable to complete a void function, and that's because I made a very bad mistake. Inside of this this lambda function, I need to return something. It doesn't like void functions, so I'm just gonna say return 0. And now it's no longer a void function, and this is gonna actually work with no problem. Except for this is something that SFML 3 has changed, and I'm still having a hard time getting used to it. We no longer can create sprites by using the default constructor, and that's what I did here. So I'm going to go and modify the code just a little bit, and instead of trying to set the texture here, I need to do it in the initialization area. So let me go ahead and cut this, and here this is where I actually want to pass the texture. So here I'm going to do images, get, and then app manifest, images, Minesweeper. Right, so now we're actually creating the sprite by passing in the image during its constructor rather than trying to set it later. So that was the only change I made. And now, for the third time, we should actually get it working. This is going to be a problem that you'll see a lot that happens, is that it's not able to find the asset that we're looking for, and that's because we have to make sure that we set our working directory. And so I don't know how to do it in other IDEs, but inside of CLion, the way that we set our working directory is by going to tools and by going to, by going to run, then going to edit configurations, and then we will select the plus next to working directory, and we want to make sure that we select a variable that is pointing to our project. In this case, I'm using file directory. If I select that and hit OK, it's going to now change my working directory to my actual project, and it should now be able to find the correct path. All right, as we can see here, it's looking for our assets inside of our CMake build debug, which is this folder here, and that's because by default that is where CLion will put your working directory. But I like to have my assets in my project folder, so that's why I changed my working directory. So now if I run my program for the fourth time, we should now get an error. We got an error again. It looks like it's doing the same thing. So let's just try to troubleshoot this for a second. I'll go here. Let's check and make sure that our working directory is correct. So I'm going to go back, edit configuration. I'm going to actually just manually type in. Oh, got it. So I'm going to manually type in where I want my working directory to be. So let me do this. Let's try to run this again. There we go. So now we actually have our asset, right? So now it's actually drawing our Minesweeper. All right, and so if I ever needed to add more images to my manifest, I simply add a enum here, and then I just basically say, where does that enum map to? Where is the asset on my system? Cool. Sorry for the couple of snags, but I hope you were able to follow and understand how manifest works. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can use our manifest and also use our texture slicer to be able to slice up images. It would be nice if I can actually just easily grab any of these boxes from my Minesweeper very easily. And I'm going to show you how texture slicer will actually make that possible.